Welcome to Pure Hustle Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando, and we're here for another Monday mini-sode.
Yes, our Monday mini episodes are the YouTube exclusive episodes that we do in order to, have that little kind of little taste, little appetizer of podcast type information, but not our full hour plus episodes that drop on Wednesday. So this is a lot shorter, 10 to 15 minutes typically, only on YouTube. But I don't know, Orlando. So this episode, I think you kind of came up with some ideas. I'm looking at your notes here, and I think I'm going to be disagreeing with you quite a bit on this one. So this one might be spicy. We might need to drop this on the actual podcast. What do you think?
I think we should. And if you want to comment and you're listening to this on the podcast, just jump on over to YouTube. And
yeah, we can get a little bit of cross pollination, because sometimes I don't know if our audience is that there's some that do both.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're a podcast only listener, this is a treat for you to have a Monday mini. But yeah, jump on over to YouTube and subscribe. And if you're normally on YouTube, go check out the podcast. Yeah, both those things would be great. All right. So today we're doing, so this is, what if eBay is right? So what brought this on is we had some episodes recently where we've talked about, look, it's not all eBay's fault. Is it what potentially can we own? And I think we've tried to be fair. At least I feel like I try to be fair in saying that, like, it's not 100% either way. Like I would never say it's just you or it's just eBay. But I think a lot of times people do fall into one of those camps, usually just it's just eBay camp of, this can't be my fault at all. None of this is anything I can control. It's all eBay. And the point we were trying to make on our previous podcast was, hey, there are factors here that you do have some control over. Now, does that mean you have control over all of them? Does that mean that there are some things that are against you, that it's not your fault? Sure, those things are true. But if you can control a handful of factors, then you got to at least control those before you start complaining about, I'm helpless, right?
So Mike is gently trying to intro this episode. But I will say this is what my thoughts have been. Okay, for the last few months, right? Things have been bad. Right? I think for a lot of people, right? A lot of people have been successful. And during my time as a teacher, as an administrator, whenever things were bad, right? Over time you begin to go, is it me? Right? Or is there really something wrong? Right? What is causing all this? And then as I started thinking more about this, I began to the conclusion of, what if eBay is right? What if this whole time, right? A lot of the clickbait out there, a lot of the YouTubes out there, a lot of the podcasts, including ourselves, have been all about, eBay has major glitches all the time. eBay has these updates. And I've even mentioned, like, how do we know it's eBay updates that's slowing down things, right? We've blamed it on the algorithm. We've done all this. Then I'm like, wait a second. eBay is a business, first of all, that likes to make money. They are a for-profit company. They are one of the purest forms of capitalism out there, where they are the middleman. You buy an item, you sell it, and they make money off that. And yes, their latest report says that they made more money off of promoted listings, but we'll get into this a little bit later. What if these promoted listings have actually helped us as resellers continue to be profitable? But let's reverse that a little bit. So eBay is $1 billion company, correct? So why would they not want to be profitable, right? I'm pretty sure eBay has done the focus groups. eBay has spent millions of dollars in research, right? eBay has done they're always doing surveys. And so what if eBay has done all these things, and what they're rolling out now, all these tools, is for the benefit of sellers?
That you're taking it too far.
All right. Tell me. Talk to me.
Okay. So just to clarify your point, here's what I'm hearing. You're saying all the things they're doing is the advertisements, all that stuff, is they're like altruistically, like, what's the best way to help the sellers on our platform make more money and be more successful?
Yes,
and keep more of that money in their pocket.
Yes.
That's nonsense.
Okay. All
So I think in like a general, I mean, you didn't even have that on like your outline
notes.
here.
Yeah.
This concept, but I mean, just saying it is it seems like so far out there. So okay, in a big picture thing, yes, companies want to be profitable, and so they want to find ways to long term. They've got to keep sellers happy. They've got to make sure sellers stay on the platform. If all sellers jump ship, so yes, part of their market is going to be how can we keep sellers happy? How can we make sure that they have their needs met? That's going to be part of it. But they're not sitting back there like, you know what would really help our sellers, even if it cost us, even if it hurt us, is promoted listings. Promoted listings is one of those that will help our sellers. Like they're doing it because they're trying to see, I mean, they're a business. They've got to figure out how much can we take from them before it's too much. The same thing like us as resellers. Most of us are reselling. We're not putting stuff up going, you know what? I probably could charge $2 less for this item. You know what? I probably could offer, no, you're gonna offer as much as you possibly can in order to be competitive while keeping as much money in your pocket. That's what eBay is doing. Like they're not like, how can I make sure that my customer keeps more and I make less? Like they're trying to be profitable.
All right, but you actually led me to the second point here. Is eBay just adapting similar to resellers are adapting? Right? We've all had to adapt. We've all had to find ways, right, to keep ourselves solvent, to keep our businesses flowing, to keep the sales coming in. And what if eBay at this point in time, right, they want to maintain themselves as the largest platform out there for secondary goods. They want to make sure that their shareholders are still with them. They want to make sure that their stock is in a good place. And in the long term, they're thinking long term, like this is the way we adapt now to continue making eBay a viable platform for all of us to continue getting a piece of the pie.
I don't think so. I mean, I hope they're doing things that are going to grow eBay, because I do want eBay to be successful. Like I don't want anybody to think like, man, Mike hates eBay in this episode. Like I want eBay to be successful, because if eBay is successful, they stay around. I have more likely chance of being successful on eBay. But I think, and it's not just eBay. I'm not picking on eBay. I think a lot of companies right now, they're trying to survive. You're right. They're trying to adapt, but they're doing short fixes. It's like a little fix, like, hey, we could just patch this hole. We could just patch this hole. We could just patch this hole. And long term, it would have been better to say, hey, what if we just like kind of take a step back? We're going to have some low numbers for the next couple of months, but we need to figure out a way to like get the younger audience onto our platform. We need to do this. Even if our Q4 report, even if the report that we put in, the next earnings report is much lower, and we're gonna have to tell our stockholders like, look, this is a building year. It's gonna be 5 years before we start seeing profit again, but it's gonna be worth it, because no, they're I've said it a bunch of times on the podcast, but the board members, the CEO, the CFO, those people, oftentimes for these companies, they don't stick around more than 5 to 10 years. They're looking, how can I make the stockholders happy for the next earnings report? I don't care what eBay is 20 years from now. I mean, you kind of have to be moving in that direction, but their priority is, how can I have the bottom line up? Even if I'm sinking the ship long term, if I patch it enough to make it look like, hey, look, lipstick on a pig, this thing is great. Then they get the promotions, they get the bonuses. Everybody thinks they're being successful. They jump ship to the next company, and the process just repeats. Because I think the most successful companies long term have to be the ones to say, and it's impossible, I think, to do as a big company, but the ones to say, like, look, we're not going to be turning as much of a profit. We're going to actually lose some numbers over the next, our stock is going to be tanking. Don't panic. It's worth it, because here's our long-term plan. Here's our 100-year plan. Here's what's going to make eBay they're looking at how do we seem profitable a year from now.
But isn't that a good thing?
No,
right? Because in the end, that's a company that we can continue selling on, right? The more viable eBay is, the better it is long term for us sellers, because eBay has the largest amount of buyers on earth. Okay, eBay has its international shipping. eBay has allowed us, right, to be able to sell to so many. And if eBay ends up breaking down, we can't go to Poshmark. We can't go to Mercari. Like we can't. Like it's not even close. The numbers that of buyers and Poshmark doesn't even have international. Mercari doesn't have international. There's no platform that can do what eBay does.
Yeah, but that's the point I'm trying to make though is I'm not saying that eBay should completely break down. I'm saying the fixes they're doing, these are short-term fixes. It's like staying up late to get more work done. It's like, okay, you can do that once. But if you're like, you know what, like if we just stayed up for like 72 hours straight, like imagine how much work we could get done. We'd be so productive. Like let's eventually that leads to the real breakdown. Like if all you're doing is like short-term fix, like look, this will help. And that's what I think a lot of these things are. It's like, it looks on paper like they're adapting, but I think the adaptation is just like an emergency. What do we do? Well, our gross volume is down. Not as many items are selling on eBay. Well, our stockholders aren't going to accept that. What do? We need to make money. Well, let's charge more in fees. Done. Look, we've grown this year. Yay, everybody claps. It's like you can manipulate data. And I think that's what's happening. It's like I wouldn't say, hey, they're making the company viable long term. I think the opposite is happening. I think long term they're making the company less viable.
All right. Okay, let me throw this one out. So there's a lot of talk about the algorithm, right? The algorithm throttles people. The algorithm hides things. You know, people can't find their items. But here's my thoughts. When eBay first started, it was easy. As far as, you know, you throw up your item and, you know, I know a lot of people from the early days. I actually sold some stuff in the earlier days, like 1999, 2000. And at that time, there wasn't a lot of people on eBay, right? So buyers and sellers. So you could throw something up and it would sell. Now, for example, we had talked about Harley Davidson items. Okay, there's over 100,000. So how do people who have their Harley items post it on eBay? How do they sell it? How does that even happen? And the only way it can happen is with an algorithm, right, that rewards individuals, have good metrics, good feedback. You know, they have great customer service, great pictures, great item specifics, descriptions, and all that. And so to me, you know, there's a lot of talk about, man, this algorithm's hurting us. This algorithm is why we're not getting sales. I like to present a counter argument that the reason most of us are still being successful is because of the algorithm allowing those sales to continue.
But the problem though is nobody's making that argument. Like that's not an accurate description. Like nobody's saying there shouldn't be an algorithm. I think what people are saying is there's a break in the algorithm. There's something wrong. Like I don't think people are saying eBay shouldn't reward good sellers. I don't think people are saying eBay shouldn't be pushing items up of people with decent feedback. I think what people are saying is there's something broken with the algorithm and there's no reason I shouldn't be getting, but all of a sudden it's as if the algorithm is glitched. I'm not making money. I think that's the problem. It's like,
but that's easy. That's easy to go, oh no, sales are slow. Things are bad. There must be a glitch. There must be updates. There must be something wrong with eBay, instead of taking accountability and going, maybe it's the things I'm sourcing. Maybe it's my pricing. Maybe it's my customer service. Maybe it's the fact that I haven't listed. Right?
No,
maybe it's that.
No, go ahead.
No. I'm done. I'm done with my rant there. But I gotta talk to myself too, in the fact that, you know, I've had slow sales at times. And my prices were outrageous. I even had people comment on YouTube and DM me going, Orlando, I looked at your store at some of your stuff and you got crazy prices. And that's because I came from the, you know, years before where it was like, hey, as long as you have best offer, it doesn't matter. You can list high. But the algorithm now is punishing you if your prices are outrageous. Right. Yeah. So in the end, it's rewarding those that have solid prices.
Yeah, no, I agree. I wouldn't make the argument that there isn't. I mean, I started the episode by saying people need to take ownership when there's factors you can control. I think, though, the point you made at the beginning wasn't a fair assessment of the complaint people are giving at large. Like maybe they're wrong. Maybe they don't they're mistaken in thinking that eBay, there's some glitch. But when somebody has like some pretty decent evidence, at least for them, where it's like, hey, things aren't adding up here. Like if all of a sudden you went 6 days in a row with no sales and you were doing everything right, you wouldn't be like, man, it must be what I'm sourcing. Like you've got thousands of items. You're doing things right. Like you would know something is wrong. You'd be calling eBay. Like, is something wrong with my store? Like so that's the point I'm trying to make, is if people are experiencing that, then they're not just saying like eBay shouldn't be helping. They're saying there's something broken. I mean, we're experiencing that right now with the podcast platform that we're on, right? So like if somebody's actually seeing something like, wait a minute, something is wrong here potentially. So those are I think we don't want to delegitimize the people who have actual, like, there's something wrong or they're experiencing something wrong from eBay. It's a system. Like, things break down. There could be errors. I do think you're right, though, that a lot of people will jump to that. It's easy to point fingers. So maybe it's only 20% of people complaining about the algorithm. Maybe it's less than that. Maybe it's 5%. But there are people who I assume legitimately something glitched in the system and their whole store got taken off, or the items they listed can't be found or something.
Yeah. I just think there's a lot of blame on eBay, especially, you know, when things are bad. It's funny. I went to this eBay event last week, and that's not why I'm having this discussion, but I was talking to some of the eBay employees, and I'm like, so what are your thoughts, you know, about this idea that the algorithm is working against people, or that, you know, system updates is why people aren't getting sales? And the same question we asked back in eBay Open in 2019, and the consensus was always like, why would we hinder people from making sales? Like that wouldn't make sense, because we want to stay profitable, we want to make money. And so that's where I land on, and the algorithm is making it possible.
Yeah. Okay. So I agree. But again, that's on the thing of, like, I don't think people are making the argument of, like, eBay is maliciously saying, you know what, Orlando's store has now hit the jackpot of not getting any sales. Like, I don't think that's what people are saying. I think what people are saying is, hey, like, something in the algorithm, like, it's a complicated system, and for whatever reason right now, like, if me and you and, like, a bunch of the people in our Discord were all of a sudden like, has anybody gotten sales in the last, like, week? No, none of us have gotten sales. We wouldn't be like, oh, everything must be fine. We're all met. Like, we would say there's a glitch. Something's wrong. We'd be trying to figure it out. We'd be calling eBay. So again, I don't think people are saying that it's all eBay's fault, or that eBay's doing it maliciously, but systems break, errors happen. And so I think you got to be careful on both sides. I think people are quick to jump to say there are errors, but I think you're also being a little dismissive of the fact that there are potentially legitimate concerns.
All right. Now, what about this? Maybe promoted listings is the only way to keep yourself competitive. Maybe it's the only way, especially, you know, right now, there's so much out there. eBay is so, if you're a clothing seller, I don't know how you can't promote your listings, especially if you're full time. Like for me, it's not an option. It's not a choice. And, you know, my experience is that you can do everything. You can have great feedback. You can have great pictures. You can have great prices. But ultimately, what gets you to the next step is having promoted listings.
You're asking what my thoughts are on that?
Yeah, I am.
I mean, I think you're right, but I'm not happy about it.
Okay.
And I don't. So I think that's the point too. Like, I would hope you're not saying, like, hey, it's a good thing that there's promoted listings. Like,
I'm saying it is. If it wasn't promoted listings, how am I gonna, outperform the competition? How is my listing gonna get higher in the search in comparison to others?
Yeah, I mean, that's to me, it's the equivalent of the Amazon race to the bottom, though, because it's like, I mean, it's smart business move on eBay to have this as an option. That's how they're making a lot of their money. I'm not going to say like it's that they're a terrible business for doing it. It's smart for them to do, but at the same time, I'm not going to be happy about it and say like, what a great thing. Like, this sets me apart. Like, something like taking good pictures, writing a good description, providing good customer service. Those are things you have control over. This is something you have control over in the sense of the more money you're willing to give to eBay, the better off you're going to do. And I'm going to be happy about that. Cause look, if me and you are both selling the same thing and we're both serious about what we're selling, it basically becomes which one of us is willing to give more money to eBay in order to try and sell this item. That's not a good thing.
But it is the thing. It's the way things are.
But it's not a good thing.
I agree. It's not a good thing. But what if that's the only option? Because there's so many items out there that are the same. How do you separate yourself? How do you separate yourself if there's 100 people that have solid pictures, solid customer service, solid feedback? How do you separate yourself from those 100 people?
But here's the thing, like, you're assuming like what, you're going to be the one of the 100 people who's doing promoted listings? No, like, you're going to do promoted listings. Usually you're going to go under even what the market value is, right? Like what if it says like typically this promoted listing is like 7 or 8 or 9 or 10%, you're probably going, yep, I'm doing 2%. Why? Because you're already saying, no, I'm not playing that game. I'm not going to go to 8% because then the next person has to do 9 and the next person has to do 10. Like, you're not already doing that bidding war, right? Like, what do you promote your listings at?
So I'm at dynamic ad rate of 8%.
Okay, so
I won't go to the 11 or 12 or the 20.
But I mean, those people are the ones being competitive. They're the ones setting themselves apart. So now you're out of luck because you're not willing to go to 12. Like,
well,
that's not
the difference being is that, and we'll talk about this. Tune into our long form podcast dropping in a couple of days. Is that if you have good metrics and you've been selling on the platform for a while, you have good feedback, you don't necessarily need to promote as high as those because you're already being boosted in the search.
Yeah, but you just said, hey, like, what sets you apart? I initially said, like, those should be things that help set you apart. All of those, your customer service, your feedback, your reputation, those things set you apart. I'd rather that be weighted a lot heavier than your promoted listing. So I'm going to say, like, good thing the algorithm promotes those things. I'm not going to be super happy about the promoted listing aspect.
Yeah, to me, I'm pragmatic about it. Like, this is what's been set up. This is the way I'm going to make more sales is by, for lack of a better word, outbidding others in certain categories. And so you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to think long term though. Like if it keeps going down that trajectory, I mean, look at what they've already added. It started off with listing, and then there's dynamic listing, and then after dynamic is paid per click, and then like what's next? It's like you could have a superstore. Hey, everybody else has normal stores, but if you're willing to spend an extra $100 a month, you get a superstore, and that gets you. You know, you're going to automatically be higher. Then every single reseller who wants to be competitive is now paying. It's basically just a tax. It's a seller tax. It's like, well, thank goodness they have Superstore. Well, now you can be a superstore. Like they can just keep on adding like things to like, now I have to do this. I have to pay this in order to be competitive.
No, I agree with you. It just concerns me when people DM us or in the comments and they're like, I never got any sales. And then I ask them, did you promote your items? And they're like, nope. And I'm like, well, yeah. What are you expecting? And then we get the messages where people are like, wow, thank you so much for talking about promoted listings, because I turned those on and now I have sales like crazy.
Yeah. Now, sure, it's something you have to do. I'm just saying, like, because the idea of the episode is like, look, eBay's right in doing these things, or like they're trying to do the right thing, and it's a good thing for them as a business, but it's not like it's not something I'm celebrating as a seller. Like, this is, you know what, you're right, eBay, this is good for me. Like, thank you, Daddy eBay, for the promoted listings. It helps me out so much.
I'm very Adam Smith and Rand about this. And the fact that, you know, in this essence, right, self-interest is what benefits everyone here. eBay's self-interest will benefit resellers. Our self-interest will benefit our business because we will do what it takes. eBay will do is what it takes to be viable, right? So I think in that sense, that's how capitalism functions, is that, you know, when I go to a fast food place and my food is delicious, it's not because the people behind the counter care about me. They're not making this food and making sure that it's not tasting terrible, right? They're making this food good because they know that they may get a raise if they get great customer feedback. They will get their consistent paycheck. It's their self-interest that drives them to perform better. And I think it's the same with eBay. eBay's self-interest for their shareholders in the end benefits us because it keeps eBay a platform that will continue to be successful.
Yeah, and I wouldn't argue with that, except for the fact that there is not, like, so if you look at businesses, like successful businesses that are actually able to like build and be something different are ones where typically the owner or the person who started it, there's like one dynamic person behind it. Like they are, like, think of Apple, right? Like Steve Jobs was Apple. Like it didn't matter. Like he was like, no matter what happened, like this is Apple, this is me, this is Apple was him, he was Apple. When you get a business that's now just an entity of a lot of different people, a lot of different stakeholders, those stakeholders come and go. The people who are invested come and go. The people who are on the board, and like I was saying earlier, if they're thinking like, I need to be profitable, if your goal is like, you need to make as much money like by the end of this quarter in order to keep your job or to get the raise you need to get, which could change your life forever, or to be hireable, you know, in the next, you know, couple of years, then you're going to do whatever it takes, even if long-term you're sinking the ship. So I don't think it's not like as a human being, like my interest, like, yeah, I want to be successful 100 years from now or 50 years from now as me, but a company like eBay, it's this, there's not a real identity of what person or what group of people is eBay. Like it changes. And so I do think, yeah, self-interest is a good thing, but who's self-interest and for how long? When that how long is short term? Because I know you've got the mindset of like, oh, if it's good for them long term, then it's good for me. And I agree with that 100%. I just don't know if all the things they're doing are good for them long term. I mean, look, they're losing piece of the pie. But when it comes to market shares in different categories, going to different platforms, but as long as they can keep that bottom line looking good for the next year, it doesn't matter to them.
But that's where the adaptation comes in, right? This is why they're doing what they're doing. All right, let's go. The last point here. What if the economy is really bad and eBay is a reflection of it? Right? It's very easy for us to go, there's glitches, there's updates, there's all this happening. But if you look at all the earnings reports recently, like Foot Locker, I think they were down 22%. Dick's Sporting Goods, they were down. Target was down. Like all these companies are down. And so why shouldn't we expect eBay to be down too? Right? Either we're being lied to, right? Because we're hearing, depending on what, aisle of, economics or politics, whatever you're in, right? Some people are saying, oh, this is the best ever, most jobs created, people are now are able to pay for this. And then there's other people are like, no, like I go to my store and yeah, inflation might have gone down, but prices haven't gone down. Right. If it's me buying something on eBay or me having enough money to buy groceries and get gasoline, this is where Econ 101 elasticity comes in. And I'm only willing to pay so much for stuff on eBay, but I'll pay more for gas. I'll pay more for groceries. And so right now, I think there's this idea of, and maybe I'm stretching this out too far, is I think we see eBay, and a lot of people, I think, see eBay as an entity that owes everyone a salary. That no matter how bad things get, no matter how bad the economy is, I should still have the same amount of sales that I had a year ago, 2 years ago, or 3 years ago. But the reality is right now, if we look at, intuitively our everyday, if we take a look at GDP, if we look even at consumer spending based on the recent earning reports of larger companies, things are bad. And so maybe it's not eBay. Maybe it's just how things are right now. And we need to do what we can to survive, to make it through this until things rebound. Where do you land on everything I just said?
Come on, Orlando. Are you serious about all that? Because I absolutely 100% agree with you on that one.
Okay. But it's interesting to me. I don't want to go too much, but it's kind of like, Mike, teachers are paid horribly in many places, right? And some teachers don't deserve to get paid well, right? And so in some places, people get paid on a salary scale, and they actually don't deserve to get moved up in the salary because they're terrible teachers. Then there's other teachers that they're phenomenal teachers, and you should give them bonuses. There should be some merit-based pay for those teachers because they excel in what they do. They love what they do. And so I say all that because in eBay right now, I think there's a kind of this ongoing phenomenon of that eBay should be a salary scale, right? That even though things are bad, we should still see that raise. Like we should still be able to see the same amount of sales that we saw the previous year, even though, right, some individuals haven't done anything different to adapt, even though overall it seems that things are gloomy out there as far as the economy is concerned. And so I want to challenge everyone here as you're listening to this podcast. I may get a lot of hate for that, and I'm okay. I can't, it goes part of the course of being on social media. It was part of the course when I was an administrator. But the reason this whole minisode was created was, to really think about what you're doing, think about your systems, think about what is your attitude towards this? Is it, I'm just going to throw my hands up and I'm just going to, keep listening to those YouTubers that want to make eBay pay, want eBay to answer for everything they're doing? Or Are you going to put in that work? Are you going to put that hustle? Are you going to put that motivation? Are you going to apply David Goggins' motivation into what you're doing into eBay and stop making excuses and stop complaining? And you're just going to do what it takes to get to that finish line.
That's right. Who's going to carry the boats?
Who's gonna take souls? And with that being said, make sure to be real,
be relevant,
and be reselling. Lates.
Peace.